Jonathan, I did want to share this with you and our viewers right here. This is from Fox News correspondent Trey Yingst posting this just now, stating that the Israeli Air Force is now launching a new wave of strikes against Tehran. We had some video that we played out a short time ago of one of those strikes from earlier this morning. But as we continue to take a look at the developments of Operation Epic Fury, I mean, this is not going to let up. President Trump stating that this mission could last days, if not weeks, as we share this new information. Can you talk about, the goals of these military operations, and also on the flip side, Iran continuing to retaliate as well?
Well, I think that's right. I don't think this is going to go away very quickly. First of all, and as far as the strikes are concerned, it's a little unusual that the Israelis are doing strikes. It is roughly 5:30 p.m. In Israel or in Tehran, so it's a little unusual that these strikes would be done at this hour. More of them tend to be done overnight. But what it also tells you, is that the Israelis and the Americans have air cover. That they have very little concern over Iranian missile defense systems, surface-to-air missiles. So that's one thing that it tells you, but it also tells you that there's a lot of targets. Both the Americans and the Israelis went in to attack both key personnel, and they're trying to get to all of the rocket launchers, because as we've seen, the Iranians have shot missiles and have connected in Dubai, in the UAE, in Bahrain, in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia. Most of those have caused no damage and have been repelled, but in Dubai they have. And now overnight there was a big attack in Beit Shemesh in Israel, which is about 15 kilometers from Jerusalem. So these attacks are going to continue. This is not something that's going to be over any day. And we don't know yet the full fury of what the Iranian counter response will be.
And let's talk about the goals from the U.S. and Israel. You were talking about these are very targeted strikes. They're taking a look at weaponry. They're taking a look at some of the top leaders. The supreme leader was killed. 40 of the top leaders were also killed in the initial strike. When we take a look at where Iran stands right now in terms of mission accomplished for the United States and Israel, where do we stand with that?
We don't stand anywhere yet. We don't know. It is far too early. If we want regime change, then the protesters or people in Iran are going to need to take control of at least one or two major institutions of government, most likely the army or the IRGC, which is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Those are really the hardcore people, so it's unlikely that it'll be the IRGC. But if you can get somebody from the army to come out and perhaps meet with the president, who was not one of the people that were killed, then you have a chance for a civil society afterwards. And perhaps, I know the Americans are talking about bringing the former Shah's son in. We are way too soon to be talking about regime change. We've killed the old guard, but the old guard is still there with the slightly younger guard. Right now, there's no regime change.
So, Jonathan, there's a long way to go when we're talking about a regime change. As we take a look, though, in just the next few days or weeks, what are those immediate next steps in order to get to regime change?
Well, I think you're going to see a lot of this stuff continuing. You're going to see, obviously they need to try to take out as many missile launchers, and from both the ballistic missile and the short-term missiles. We have to be very careful about whether or not the Iranians will deploy a dirty bomb. That's a major concern. Out of the country, you also have to worry about whether or not European Iranian sleeper cells will be activated. I don't, from my own discussions with people in the intelligence community, I don't know of any confirmation of sleeper cells in the United States, but I do know of confirmation of sleeper cells in Europe. So we have to be on the lookout for a variety of things. I think we're not ready to negotiate with any individual who might take over the government, and I think that the protesters are going to need to be out in force in Iran, because that also demonstrates to the rest of the world that the people in Iran would like to see regime change as well.
You know, when you talk about the concerns of potentially deploying a dirty bomb, where might they deploy it? Within their own country?
No, most likely Israel. I mean, all they have to do is put nuclear. They don't have to detonate a nuclear weapon. They just have to send one over that might hit or even explode in the air, and then creates fallout all over.
You know, all of this has to do with the nuclear program and Iran refusing to meet the United States at the diplomacy table when we're talking about halting the enrichment of uranium. Can you talk about, the significance of this?
Sure. Well, the Americans were you know they did a good job in June in destroying, or at least bearing, a good deal of the Iranian nuclear weapons program. I'm not sure that it was obliterated. Most people don't really think that, and they had stuff that they had taken away, and they were trying to reconstitute it. I think the Iranians made a tremendous tactical mistake by not actually being forthcoming and trying to negotiate in bits and pieces. But honestly, I'm not sure that this wasn't the ultimate goal anyway. What we had been looking at during the negotiations with the Iranians on the nuclear weapons program looked remarkably close to what had been negotiated by Obama in the JCPOA that President Trump walked away from in 2018. So I'm not sure that the ultimate goal was really a nuclear negotiation. I think this was probably closer to what the Trump ultimate goal was.
Jonathan, as we continue to look ahead, is there any particular aspect of all of this that you're keeping a very close eye on?
Yes, there are a couple of things. One is what happens outside of the region. As I said, sleeper cells in Europe, or other things. Is there going to be larger escalation with the countries, in particular the countries that have U.S. bases, which would be the UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar, and of course the Saudis? I mean, people sometimes forget the Persian Gulf is kind of like a U or a V, and you have the Iranian on one side, and you have the Saudi Arabia, UAE, Kuwait, and a little bit of Iraq on the other side. So missiles going across that Gulf are the Saudi oil fields, the UAE oil fields are all pretty exposed. Now they're also heavily defended, but they're also pretty exposed. So if things get desperate, will the Iranians, in desperation, try to attack the oil fields of the Saudis and the UAE, Kuwait, and Iraq that are in that area?
All right, Jonathan, we appreciate you joining us here on Live Now from Fox.